Hello and welcome back to the Pauper Premier League. My name's Alex Ullman and just been eliminated from the playoffs. First of all, congratulations to Brian Koval. He's our first player through to the playoffs at 4-2. He'll be playing again in 3 weeks' time. So I think that's the 22nd of August. So he'll be playing then. I'm here with Charles, who had a chance to watch a lot of Pauper tonight. What do you think?
Oh, really wild games, actually. There's been quite a few upsets.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I was talking before with some friends, and I was like, the most likely outcome for me tonight is 1-2. I thought I would actually beat Brian DeMars. I played the Stompy matchup a bunch, and I was one top-decked Rancor away from getting back into it.
Vault Skirge just showed up with the Rancor, so it was a little rough.
Yeah, I was not planning on beating Andreas and Brian. I figured was a toss-up. You know, if the games went like the game 2, they were going to go my way. If they went like games 1 and 3, they were going to go his way. And, 3 Journey to Nowhere showed up in game 1. And that trick he did with the Relic to get rid of the Rancor was pretty neat.
Yeah, the Rancor was pretty huge in that matchup. Him getting rid of it was the only way he's getting back in that game.
He was ahead. Even though his deck wasn't doing what it wanted to do, he still had mana, he still had blockers. Rancor might have thrown a wrench in the works, but it wasn't so bad that he was totally out of it, at least from my vantage point. But we're looking at potentially no one else making the playoffs. So what we have going on here is this. Brian DeMars is currently at 3-2. He needed to run the table tonight, and if he beats Andreas, he will. And he'll make the playoffs. But this matchup favors Hexproof, favors Bogles just because they have more lifelink, and there's no real way for Stompy to stop them. I think this matchup is all about Ethereal Armor. If Andreas can get it early, that kind of just means you win every combat.
So these days, Stompy is an average of turn 4, and Bogles is an average of turn 5, but the lifelink kind of throws that into the mix. So I think game 1, Stompy might actually be favored. There's only the 4 lifelink cards that matter.
So it looks like we're ready for our last match of the night. Let's go down and see what's going to happen.
All right. Let's see how these opening hands go.
The good news for Andreas is that he has 3 copies of lifelink in the sideboard. And that's
those extra copies are going to be huge, especially when the 4 enchantment destruction spells come in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not that great of a 7 from Petersen.
I only see 6 right now. I see.
It's a Rancor. Right. Do you keep that?
I have 2 redraws. I think you have to keep it.
If I'm on the draw, I think I keep it. On the play, I might mulligan on the play, but on the draw, you have that extra look for another land and enchantments, because you need both enchantments and lands here, and that's a little too much for me to ask for without the redraw or the extra card from being on the draw.
What do you think about Brian's hand? If he's on the play, I likely keep. If that's a hand on the draw... Sorry, if it's on the draw, I likely keep. And he's on the play. Both players kept. So they both were going.
It's got 6 power through 1 mana, so I kind of like it. Even if he doesn't draw the land, he's still playing decent Magic. So I think it's enough to ask for, because he draws the land. That hand's insane, right? Yeah,
and Andreas draws another Bogle. He actually draws the Slippery Bogle. His first redraw with Arcum's Astrolabe is a Forest, so he's in business. So what's DeMars looking here? Another land? Oh, another good 2-drop. 1-drop, rather. 2-power creature. So what's your play here?
Definitely the Pit Skulk and get it to Rancor, because if my Bogles opponent only has like 1 single enchantment, I can attack into it. Like a single Ethereal Armor or a single Cartouche, I can now attack with my 4/2 into the first striker and not be scared.
Yeah, it's going to take him some time, but he definitely should play the Skulk, which he looks like he's going to do. So what is Andreas looking for then? Is he looking for the armor? Is he looking for a Cartouche? Is he looking for Mask?
He's looking for really anything that's going to pump up a Bogle, because as it is, he's just got a bunch of 3/1s in his hand, which might do okay, but the second that Pit Skulk shows up, a 3/1 isn't going to work.
So the draw was Khalni Garden, which is not exactly what you want to see. Those have not been great for him tonight.
Plays the Ledgewalker. That's really interesting. I was thinking either Bogle and Cantrip Enchantment or Bogle, Rancor, and be on blocking duty.
So the Ledgewalker is the hardest to block creature. And what it does is that it lets him, if he does draw armor or cloak or any of those hitters, it just lets him start going to town. But Damars draws the second land for Burning Tree Emissary, which I guess he's going to lead into with Rancor to start, because that's what puts Damars down, puts Petersen down to 12.
I like the 2-drop here. The Rancor is 2 damage now, but next turn he's looking at a double 1-drop turn. If he only had the single Rancor, no other 1-drop, I do like the Rancor because it's just too hasty damage. But because he's looking at 2 1-drops next turn, I think it's the 2-drop.
I mean, if it's the 2-drop, he probably should have waited till after combat just to get the extra untap on Nettle Sentinel.
I think his hand is stacked enough that's not going to end up being relevant. But he goes for the Rancor.
He goes for the Rancor. It looks like on Nettle Sentinel. No, it is on Pit Skulk.
It's just the
arrows.
Trigger. Yeah. The Moto updates, they love to just change how the arrows work.
The arrows were working fine. I just didn't know what they were doing. So this knocks Andreas down to 12, and it's basically... It has to be Ethereal Armor here.
Yeah, there's the Cloak off the top. I was just about to say, because he decided to play Ledgewalker, he didn't even go for the 3rd land, because he does have the Khalni Garden, but it doesn't come down yet. So
I think, how much damage? So Brian can deal 8 next turn, barring drawing, vines. I think...
Well, there's going to be a plant token on blocking duty. I think you throw it under a 2/2 and you feel great about it.
Yeah. But I think that you go for the redraw on the...
I like the Gladecover Scout because that's basically 2 life right there. 1 mana, 2 life, and you feel great about it.
That makes a lot of sense.
You just want to buy time to resolve this Armadillo Cloak. That's all that matters to you now. This is going to be 5 life a turn, and it's going to be hard to overcome.
You're right. No, that makes perfect sense. I would have played it differently, and I probably would have lost. Because I'm so used to getting those force multiplier enchantments, the Ethereal Armor, the masks. But here, it's all about that Armadillo Cloak.
The only way I see the cantrip enchantment working out here is if you draw exactly land Ethereal Armor or something like that. Because then it does end up mattering. But any 1 card off the top, you're still looking at just your Armadillo Cloak and no lands to play, or no lands to play another enchantment after, or no spells to play after if you draw the land.
So it's going to be at least 5 life next turn.
Yeah. But the game isn't over yet.
No.
The Stompy player has quite a bit of pressure here. 5 life a turn is a pretty big difference, but
it might not be
Stompy player
enough.
Can swing in.
So a lot's going to depend on what Andreas draws, because, like you said, Petersen is likely going to block the 2/2s, go to 8, then play the Cloak out, go up to 13, but then he's going to be facing down 12 damage at the very least next turn.
And he can't go blocking duty because he's dead to Vines of Astrid on that Pit Skulk off the top. So he has to attack and go up to 13.
I think at this point you have to play like Vines of Vastwood doesn't exist and it's never going to be drawn. Because you're dead to it anyway, so you can't even bother to play around it. Petersen only blocks with the plant token. So, this is nice. He's Damars is going to get out the River Boa by sacking the Scion of the Spawn token. So,
Stompy is looking like it's going to get there. A little bit too fast for the Cloak to show up.
At least this game, yeah. I wonder if it gets there. I know it probably still does if he leads on a 1-drop. Another Rancor, though, that it doesn't quite change the math, but
he doesn't have enough mana. He has to just gain 5 here.
No, but next turn he'll gain 7.
So he's going up to 11. He's staring down 6, 8, 10 damage. So we'll be at 1 here after the chump block. Yeah.
I mean, 1 is not 0. And so what I think Petersen has to do is cloak, and then next turn...
Draw mask.
Draw mask, draw Ethereal Armor, because Ethereal Armor plus Rancor...
Yeah. Ethereal Armor is probably better, because then he can also develop the Abundant Growth, too.
Yeah.
So he's looking for armor or mask, and I don't think he has any outs. I don't know if mask is even enough, but armor might.
If you cloak, mask would be...
+4.
No, +6. It counts the other Rancor.
Oh, it's all enchantments.
It's all enchantments. Okay. So
he's planning on trading with the Pit Skulk here. That's what he's going for. He's going to chump 3, trade the Pit Skulk, go to 1, but then he doesn't have a board? Am I missing something here? Because otherwise he just dies because he has to chump, and then trade with the Pit Skulk, which tramples over 3, and a 2-power creature gets over, or
3,
isn't blocked.
Yeah, no, this line I don't think works out.
He lives, but he doesn't have any creatures.
So let's see. Brian attacks with everything.
Yep.
So 3. Yeah, he has to chump everything, otherwise he's dead. And he scooped. I think if he plays the cloak there, he buys another turn, but...
Both lines buy a turn, but one you're left with the lifelink, or the other you have no board,
yeah.
So... Gleeful's obviously are coming in. What does the Bogles player have?
Looks like 2 lifelink, Standard Bearer, Cartouche of Strength, siding out Cartouche of Solidarity, and an Astrolabe.
Oh, shit. Okay. Took me a second on the Standard Bearer, because Savage Swipe comes out, so Standard Bearer immediately gets a whole lot better.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's still just the 1 of, though. If you're Damars, do you bring Gutshot? Do you bring in the Longbow?
There's not enough targets to really justify it. If I'm the Stompy player, I want to have enough interaction to blow up the cloaks and then kill you as fast as possible. The more interaction you add, that's less dudes that beat your face in, so I'm going to kill you slower. So you got to have that right mix of them.
Yeah. I like keeping in 1 copy of Cartouche of Solidarity because it does give first strike, and we're going down to game 2. Let's see.
I actually really like Cartouche of Solidarity. It gives a just 1/1 body, which is not irrelevant, and the first strike is actually pretty good. Ooh, that's going to be another mulligan there.
Petersen had a great hand, except it had no Bogle. Going to 6, great hand, except no land. Well,
he mulled it pretty fast. How many? I saw 1 Astrolabe. Did he have any other redraws?
No. It was 3
no
land.
Other redraws?
I didn't see any other redraws. There was 3 land, Astrolabe, there was a Rancor.
There's 2 redraws. I can see keeping it, because you're drawing to 11 Bogles, so 2 redraws gives you 3 looks for the turn 2 Boggle.
Petersen mulligan
this is not good.
3.
And on Damar's side, he has a very good hand of Quiron Ranger into Burning Tree Emissary. And if Petersen had any enchantments, a turn 2 Conspired Gleeful Sabotage, but I don't think that's going to be necessary.
I mean, Petersen's playing for this mask. But
with the Gleeful already in hand, I don't think it's going to get there.
I think Brian is going to run the table.
I think the biggest question here is if Brian plays it on the single Utopia Sprawl or if he decides to wait for value. Either way, it's going to be backbreaking, but... Mold 3 or 4? Okay.
4.
That's not very good. Bogles does have that fail rate. I wish it failed against me this often, but... As the deck doesn't really come back from this. It really relies on having that critical mass of enchantments.
Well, let's see. Because if Brian snaps this off here, that is likely game over, but it eats up his entire turn. I think
he gets the Burning Tree Emissary.
Yeah.
So he develops a 2/2 on top of it, and that's pretty... I kind of just like developing the River Boa, though. My opponent has a Sprawl, but he's on a low mulligan. I think if I get 2 enchantments, I'm just going to end them. And if it's just 1 mana enchantment, it'll slow them down, but there's still a chance to run it.
Yeah, I think River Boa is the play because this 1/1 isn't going to be dealing a ton of damage next turn, and if you can get 2 enchantments, like you said, it's just so much better.
Yeah, I just want to develop pressure right now, so I don't give my opponent time to draw out of this mulligan.
I think you get in for the chip damage with Quiron Ranger.
I don't think you do. You're on 1 land. If my opponent blocks with that Bogle and has the second one off the top like Petersen just did, I'm in trouble. I can't cast Gleeful anymore.
No, you gotta be down. I think that you're far enough ahead. I don't think Petersen... I also don't think Petersen can risk it knowing the contents of his hand. You need this Bogle to survive. And...
Yeah, but DeMars doesn't know Petersen doesn't have a second Bogle, and he really needs that second, or the Quiron Ranger for the second mana right now. He's got 2 vines that don't do anything in the matchup because you just play it for a 2 mana 4/4/4/4. He's got that Gleeful that he wouldn't be able to play. I think it's far too risky for 1 point of damage. But here we're probably just going to see a Gleeful. I'd like to see it post-combat. Oh,
you can't.
You don't attack with Boa. You can if you attack with 2 dudes, do the land, untap with Quiron, and then conspire.
Sure.
But I don't think you attack with Boa or Quiron here anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I just apparently yawned. It's getting late over here. So this takes out Ethereal Armor and Utopia Sprawl.
And that's just going to leave Petersen dead in the water.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be playing a bunch of 1/1s, hoping to draw Rancors against 2/2s. And 2/2s beat 1/1s every time. Yeah,
just going to concede there. Yeah, unfortunate draws for Petersen there. Game 1 was fairly close. The Stompy player had the good Stompy draw, and it got there, but...
just unfortunate draws for him all night.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of... Bogles is all in on those draws, and, you know, there's no real way for it to pull out of it outside of those 1-for-1 redraws, but we have 2 players in the playoffs already, so... Brian Koval, who went 2-1 last week, pulls off another 2 in his last pod, pulls off another 2-1, moves into the August 22nd playoffs. Brian DeMars, who went 1-2 last week, pulls off the 3-0.
Yeah, definitely the hero story. Stompy stomped.
I'm eliminated. Andreas is eliminated. And what's going to happen is next week we have 2 players in contention for the playoffs. So... Next week, we have Evan Irwin and Emma Partlow, who are both 0-3, both cannot make the playoffs. We have Chris Van Meter, who went 2-1 last week with Burn, very much alive for the playoffs. He needs to also do a 2-1 record. We have Joseph Varani, 420 Dragon, the familiar player himself, who is 1-2. He needs to run the table just like Brian did. And if he does, he makes the playoffs. We could have another situation where we have a player run the table, a player go 2-1, 2 players go 1-2 or 0-3 or what have you, and that's it. 2 players make the playoffs. That being said, we'll have to see. We'll be back next week. CoolStuffInc.com. Thank you so much for sponsoring this. Huge thank you again to Wizards of the Coast. Thank you to Charles for stepping in for Kendra, who's out at Gen Con.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun doing this. It was an enjoyable experience.
For those of you who don't know, we actually originally reached out to Charles to be part of this way back when we started talking about this, and we had some scheduling mishaps. We originally were going to start this at a time where Charles couldn't do it, so we found another player, pushed it back, and Charles was like, "Oh, I could do it." I'm like, "Hopefully we'll have." I
didn't want to push the new player out.
But hopefully we'll have a season 2.
Heartbreaking to, hey, you're in the Pauper Premier League. Oh, sorry, Birdman's kicking you out. That would be very rude.
But thank you again to Wizards of the Coast. Thank you to our producer, Rich. And we'll be back next week with more Pauper action. Thank you so much. Have a great week, everyone.
See y'all.